the 2,500 feet mountains around the bay, and then descending sharply to 200 feet for the actual drop. Russian trawlers lying just offshore keep close watch on the RAF's precision flying. With all loads away and safely gathered up by the boat crew below, the huge rear doors of the Hercules close, and the crew start the long haul back to Stanley, leaving behind the snow-capped mountains and glaciers of South Georgia, where the Falklands conflict started just over a year ago.
In London, over 30,000 Sikhs marched in protest to the India High Commission. They gathered in Hyde Park to support the 10 million Sikhs in Punjab, where there's been renewed violence recently. Sikhs want India to declare their religious centre, Amritsar, a holy city and grant them equal status with other religious groups. The march was part of a worldwide protest. They handed in a petition to the India High Commission in Holborn.
Our case is in it. Would we pass it on to the Prime Minister of India? And what are our feelings? They are in the petition.
Severiano Ballesteros of Spain is the leader after 3 rounds in the Sun Alliance PGA Golf Tournament at Sandwich. But he's only 1 stroke ahead of Brian Waits, the Nottinghamshire club professional. Waits kept up the pressure today with some fine iron shots. This was his 2nd stroke at the 14th.
Oh, and scramble past that bunker. Now that's a very good one indeed.
Ballesteros kept ahead with some more magnificent putting.
Here it sweeps down the hill. Will it sweep in out? Oh! My goodness, what a man. I don't know how he does it, but he does.
Finally, in Leicestershire, 6 people have been demonstrating their own brand of get up and go. They've been taking part in the British Human Catapult Championship at Kegworth. All should have landed on the safety nets on the other side of the River Soar. But most got a ducking instead. The contestants were fired from the catapult with the type of elastic used to launch gliders. There was no shortage of volunteers. 100 people wanted the chance to take to the air. That's it from me. A very good night.
Good evening to you. Well, it doesn't look too bad a day tomorrow. This front is only moving in very slowly. It'll eventually bring some rain, I think, into the southwest later on tomorrow. But in the meantime, a small ridge of high pressure coming over southern parts. Up in the north, you'll still have somewhat of a northerly wind, so still a fair number of showers there. And then over the next few days, well, I'm afraid staying unsettled and pretty cool with some rain or showers about as this low pressure area tracks in and across the country. But let's look at the satellite picture, and this shows a fair amount of cloud across the country at the moment, so I think still a bit of rain about, especially in that northeastern part, and still some showers at the moment down in the south, but they will be gradually dying away as we go through the night. Out to the west, the front, that's edging its way in, as I said, and the whole low-pressure complex will in itself work its way over the next 2 or 3 days across the country. But as far as tomorrow's concerned, well, up in Scotland and Northern Ireland, a fairly bright day. There will be some sunshine, but a fair number of showers and heavy ones around, and some showers coming into northern parts of England too. 1 or 2 showers further south, but I think they'll be dying away. Most places bright with some sunshine and certainly a bit warmer than today. And in the far southwest, cloud and a bit of rain coming later in the day. That's it from me. A very good night to you.
Bank Holiday Entertainment on bbc1.
All right, Jamie, action.
At 6:40, Jim fixes it for a hopeful James Bond.
Hold it. And cut.
At 7:20, Sid Little has a go at playing Gandhi.
Little like Golf Garnet.
At 7:55, Marsha Mason and Richard Dreyfuss star in The Goodbye Girl.
Mr. McFadden.
You forgot to say goodnight.
I was working on goodbye.
With the election campaign entering its 3rd week, the main news and campaign report at 9:45 will be keeping you up to date with all the latest developments. At 10:10, a 10th anniversary, That's Life.
Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Doggovision Song Contest of 1983. Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs.
There's music at 10:55 when the Spinners join a 1,000-strong Geordie audience for an evening on Tyneside. And Ian Johnston rounds off the evening with Film 83 at 11:25 when he'll be talking to Roger Moore about the 13th Bond film, Octopussy. These are programmes for the bank holiday evening on BBC1.
On to now, part 8 of RF Deltafield's To Serve Them All My Days, and Bamfield's headmaster has some individual ideas about his new task. And now we begin a new series of Everyman.
Madrid, 1928. In that year, a young priest in a working-class district founded an organization intended to help ordinary Catholics dedicate their daily lives to God. The name of the priest was José María Escriva de Balaguer, and the organization was Opus Dei, God's work. Now, 55 years later, Opus Dei is a worldwide movement of laymen and priests, claiming over 72,000 members in 80 countries. It's a force to be reckoned with in the Catholic Church. In this ceremony, in March, the Pope conferred on it a unique independent status, instituting its leader, Álvaro de Portillo, head of a personal prelature. Procedures for the canonization of its founder have been opened only 6 years after his death. But the image Opus Dei presents to the world has not gone unchallenged.
The secret recruitment of minors concerned me very greatly. And also within Opus Dei, the totalitarian control over the members.
I mistrust any organisation which teaches young people to disobey one of the 10 Commandments, particularly when they set themselves up to be a religious organisation.
I thought as I was going to be in terrible disgrace if I left Opus Dei. You know, I couldn't cope by myself.
The press coverage of Opus Dei presents a secretive organization, pressurizing young people into joining, splitting families, encouraging medieval practices of flagellation, involved in financial and political conspiracies. But intensely spiritual people have often behaved in ways inexplicable to those around them, so it seems reasonable to give Opus Dei a hearing on its own terms. We contacted Opus Dei and we explained that we wanted to make a program about them so that any misunderstandings of their intentions and practices could be cleared up and they'd have an opportunity to show themselves as they really are. They answered that they wouldn't wish to take part in a program if known critics of the organization were also to appear, but they would consider participating if it were confined to members of Opus Dei. Well, we said this was unacceptable, and we asked them to reconsider. Some 2 months later, they wrote to us saying, "We feel that now is not the right time to do this from the UK point of view." We asked them when they felt the time would be right, and they replied saying they couldn't tell. So we decided to carry on without their cooperation, using what resources we could find.
The University of Navarra in Pamplona, the nursing school attached...
Opus Dei did send us this film. It shows the range of activities associated with Opus Dei worldwide.
Nurses and specialists have graduated from it.
This is the Punman Center in Manila, the Philippines, a vocational school for women.
There's also an international catering school in Rome in the Tiburtino district.
Activities of this kind, such as this other center in Sao Paulo, are the result of the personal commitment of Opus Dei members cooperating with other people.
But Opus Dei is at pains to point out it's a spiritual path, not a centralized organization. Members undertake these activities, it says, not because Opus Dei tells them to, but because they wish to do Opus Dei, God's work, in the world. And this means, in essence, that they remain lay Catholics, but they strive to dedicate their every action to God.
What does it mean to a bus driver to be a member of Opus Dei?
Well, it has had a great effect, a great improvement Because now I can, when I start first thing in the morning, I can offer up all my work to God. And it reminds me to do my work well, because we don't offer second-hand things to God. We only offer up what is best.
The spiritual experiences of members, however convincing to them, remained inaccessible to us as outside investigators. What we found in plenty were stories which gave a very different picture of Opus Dei. One such story begins here, at this Catholic girls' school in Liverpool in 1976. Members of Opus Dei came to give a careers talk, inviting girls to the Lakefield Housecraft and Catering College in Hampstead, London. There they'd be trained for 2 years in hotel, institutional and domestic catering. Although Opus Dei was mentioned in the brochure as being entrusted with a spiritual formation, no explanation was given as to what that meant. One of the girls who went there was Jane Gould. Her mother, Margaret Gould, says Jane was pressurized into joining Opus Dei while at Lakefield when she was 16 and a half, and told not to inform her parents till she was 18, when they'd be powerless to challenge her action. Mrs. Gould has become active in gathering evidence about Opus Dei from other parents and ex-members. But I put to her the view of Opus Dei that Jane is just an ordinary working girl who's devoted her life to sanctifying the work that she does in the lay world.
Yes, but she doesn't live in the lay world. What ordinary working girl never leaves her place of employment? What ordinary working girl has her salary paid into her employer's bank account and then has no access to it? What ordinary working girl has all her mail censored? What ordinary working girl has no contact whatsoever with the opposite sex and has all her TV and reading and books vetted before she can watch them? This is patent nonsense, they are telling me.
Jane didn't come home for nearly 2 years, and Mrs. Gould claims Opus Dei members often obstructed her efforts to talk to her daughter. Eventually, Jane came home for 2 days. When she came home to you, she was under your roof, she was back home.
She was.
This was surely an opportunity for you?
No. I was so grateful just to see her. I was so afraid to ask any questions, to do anything which would upset her in any way. I was just so grateful to have her home that I just tried to love her and to let her show that we do love her and that we are her family.
I was not prepared to help people join an organisation which would create problems spiritually, psychologically, which it would then continue for the rest of their life to solve. I look at God at the centre and God looks at me.
Father Vladimir Feltzman was a member of Opus Dei for 22 years, 12 as a priest. He left in 1981. One of his concerns was the pressure he felt was put on young people to join Opus Dei at the Lakefield Catering College in London, to which he was chaplain.
There were targets in recruitment. It'd be nice if we could get 6 or 7, or why don't we try to get 10 this year, or this sort of thing.
There's annual targets of numbers of people who ought to get in.
Management by objectives, I think it's called in the world.
We could find only one girl who'd been at Lakefield and joined Opus Dei prepared to speak on film. Julie Morrie in Liverpool. She left the organisation after 18 months. When somebody wishes to join Opus Dei, they write a letter requesting admission to the prelate of the organisation in Rome. This letter is not legally, and from the Opus Dei point of view, a commitment, but simply a request. The writer can see the matter differently.
As soon as you write that letter, you are a member of Opus Dei.
And how old were you when you wrote your letter?
17.
17. And as far as you were concerned, how long did that commit you to Opus Dei for?
Life. Well, you're told, I was told one point, you don't play with God. If you have vocation, you have it for life.
Many people say that Opus Dei encourages its recruits to be secretive. Julie did not tell her parents about her joining Opus Dei. Why not?
I was told not to tell my parents.
Who told you?
Numerally.
One particular one?
Well, the person I do the chat with you have one person who you have to talk to.
Yeah.
And this person, I did say I have to tell my parents, you know, just to let them know that I am going to join this this Opus Dei. And she said, no, you know, you don't understand that much at this stage. Your parents will not understand. And when later on, when your vocation matures, it is a good time, and you'll be prepared to give answers to your parents when they ask you questions. I will. It's common sense, you know. Okay, fair enough.
One of the areas of Opus Dei's activities which has generated a great deal of controversy is that of corporal mortification, the use of whips during prayer and the wearing of spiked bracelets around the thigh.
Well, I did join.